Okay everybody, Tectalar here again with the 16th episode of the Heroes Appendix video series. Its purpose is to help newer and veteran players alike to fully understand the ins and outs of all the characters in Hero Wars Mobile. In today's video, we are reviewing the first place winner of the most recent vote amongst my patrons, and probably one of the most misunderstood tanks in the game, Lilith. She is a tank who has the potential to become an unkillable monster, and somewhat early into the fight can boast the highest max health in the game out of any hero. Since she's sitting behind some damage-dealing heroes, people question putting her in the tank role, but if done correctly, she can all but guarantee your team a win on defense due to timeout. Today, we'll look into Lilith and what some of the best ways to protect her are. In today's video, we are going to be discussing her skills, how they visually appear, and their uses both practically and strategically, when to use Lilith, when not to use her roles in the team, skin priority order, artifact priority order, and glyph stat priority. First up is Lilith's activatable skill, Armageddon, which is commonly referred to as her ultimate because this is the ability she can use once her yellow energy gauge is filled during battle. Lilith will grow in size and become engulfed in fire as she stomps the ground, creating a small fissure beneath the every enemy on the other team, and a small fiery explosion will appear at their feet, dealing damage and stunning them for 1 second. This skill has a very low damage ratio, at 20% magic attack plus 6,000, so no matter how much you raise her magic attack, it's really not going to deal a lot of damage. A note to make is although her magic attack is abysmally low, she has a fair amount of magic penetration at 17,600, which pierces most tanks and non-intelligence based units. This becomes important when teams are attacking you and stacking damage dealers to try to bring down Lilith fast enough and leave healers off their team, because while Lilith may not do a lot of damage, she does deal it relatively consistently throughout the fight, and every use of this skill will deal nearly 11,000 damage every use, and a lot of heroes will slowly die over time to her without proper healing. Lilith's second skill is called Nether Breath. Lilith will raise her foot in front of her and lean forward, stomping the ground and opening her mouth, expelling a flamethrower at the closest enemies in a cone effect, dealing area of effect damage. This skill, again, has an abysmally low 15% magic attack ratio plus 6,000. The damage on this is so low, you're almost not going to notice it throughout the course of the fight, unless the enemy's warriors are standing very close to the tank, since it will basically be unmitigated against them. It can really add up over time. This skill can be used once every 14 seconds, and since it is borderline useless, it amazes me that it has such a long cooldown. Lilith's third skill is called Flame Ram. Lilith will lean forward and become airborne, looking like she's dashing through the air in an anime of some kind with a huge fireball encompassing her, pointing at the closest enemy. This skill will knock back the closest enemy, helping restructure the enemy lineup. This skill, like her ultimate, has a very low damage ratio of 20% plus 9,000, but luckily the damage has virtually none of the appeal to this skill. A note with this skill is that it is further modified by her passive skill. This skill can be used once every 20 seconds. Lilith's passive skill is called Possession, and it builds off of her third skill, Flame Ram. Whenever Lilith uses her Flame Ram skill, immediately after it she will lean back and shout to the sky and visibly grow in size for the duration of the battle. This skill increases the caster's current and maximum health by 32% of her maximum health. So that means that it doubles both as a heal and as a max health increasing tool. And it's the only multiplicative stacking buff in the game. So for those who don't understand math very well, It means that her health pool can grow exponentially throughout the course of the battle if she uses her third skill often enough, and her health can grow to numbers in excess of 30 million, becoming virtually unkillable even by the strongest opponents. In these screenshots, you can see Lilith's total healing potential for a 2-minute fight can reach nearly 40 million, and the progression of her heals every time she uses her third skill, and you can see her health bar becoming noticeably larger with tick marks as well as her size in relation to the battlefield. A note is obviously having a unit with 30 million health is an incredible feat, and when she is on your defensive teams, your main goal should be to protect her long enough that she can use Flame Ram enough times that the enemy team is not going to be able to kill her. We will discuss ways to do this in the upcoming sections. Now let's take a deeper look and see when you should be using Lilith. The first time is in your defensive teams, and you know enough about the teams that will likely be attacking you that you can set up your team with other threats to draw the focus away from Lilith for the first part of the battle. For example, using heroes like Kira, Lars, Kark, Orion. In doing this, you're forcing the enemy to choose between trying to bring down Lilith and trying to bring down your main damage dealer. If they ignore either one for too long, they could end up losing the battle. Another defensive style is instead of threatening the opponents with multiple units, you threaten them with mitigation and double down on protecting Lilith, leaving her in position 3, boasting heroes like Aurora, Rufus, Anvari, and Martha. The team offers both magic immunity through Rufus, so they're forced to bring a physical-oriented team or Morrigan. It offers a dodge and 3 armor artifact weapons, as well as a magic defense artifact weapon, plus having an area of effect healer in the back who heals massive amounts if uninterrupted. So they have to deal with Martha, but Anvari blocks Cleaver's hook and Kark from hitting her. There are a lot of outcomes your opponent must consider for this lineup, which, especially for Grand Arena or Cross-Server War, will require them to have to potentially pull from other teams in order to beat it, which could put you at the advantage because now they may not have units to take on the other teams that you have. Another time to consider using Lilith is on an offensive team against Orion. Since Orion's missiles and main damage output always target the 3 highest health units in raw number, not percentage, Lilith is almost always guaranteed to be a target of Orion's missiles, since she's always healing herself for a massive amount, which can take some of the strain off of your damage dealers or healers. I personally like to use Rufus, Lilith, Martha, Jorgen, and Satori against most Orion team variations, where he's the main damage dealer, like in Dorian, Orion, and Helios teams, because Satori will not get hit with any missiles the entire fight, ensuring there's virtually no chance you can lose. Obviously, you still need to consider the rest of their team, but this is for your average Dorian, Orion, and Helios team. In this video, if you watch very closely at the Satori and Jorgen's health bars, they virtually do not move when compared to Lilith, Martha, and Rufus, because they are solely the target for Orion's missiles, and they keep healing themselves, which means they continue to be his targets for the fight's duration. Another time to consider using is on a defensive team like Aurora, Lilith, Arachne, Dante, and Thea. Aurora, Dante, Arachne is extremely difficult for a physical-based team to get through, boasting numerous stuns, knockbacks, and a particularly useful synergy between Lilith and Thea is present on the team, where Thea's 4th skill, even if she dies, will reduce the cooldown of Lilith's Flame Ram skill to 10 seconds, meaning every 10 seconds Lilith will gain a massive heal and health boost, which in turn improves any subsequent heals she will do to herself and will quickly spiral out of control. Even if she's below 25% health at the end of the fight in Guild War or Cross-Server War, as long as she's above her normal maximum health, She will be at full health when the next fight begins. She retains her health value, not the percentage health that she's at. Now we'll take a look at when you should be avoiding Lilith in your team. The first time is pretty much as your main frontline tank. Because you are trying to stall long enough, approximately for the first minute of the fight, you don't want her taking any real damage until that time. So putting her in the front pretty much does the opposite. It ensures she's going to take damage, so you don't want her taking the damage until at least partway into the battle. The next time is if your opponent has King Mao as she hits for 20% of your current health, or Jet, who blocks all healing done to frontline units, so Lilith is unable to heal herself. And then the third time to consider avoiding Lilith is if you're a new player. She doesn't scale very well early on, and I'll discuss in the next section more about that. Now we'll briefly discuss her role in the team. Lilith's role is tank and control. While Lilith is categorized as a tank, she's a little bit different than the other tanks as she doesn't have much passive mitigation. Her role is similar to a frontline Martha in that she is a tank known as a soak, who is able to absorb a massive amount of damage because she heals herself for an equally unbelievable amount. Which means, like a sponge soaks up water, Lilith is meant to just soak up the damage as opposed to mitigating it. Since her health pool has the potential to scale ridiculously out of control, you just need to protect her on average for 1 minute, which should be enough time for her to use her flame ram 3 times, and in most cases this will be enough to ensure that the opponents will be unable to bring her down before time runs out. Her control aspect is much less of a factor in almost every fight you'll use her in, so just focus on the ways you can protect her long enough to become a true monster. An important note about Lilith is that while she has the potential to become a monster, she's not real useful in the early game, and it's recommended that she be somewhere in your top 21 to 25 heroes. If you want to you will want to focus on teams that can land you kills on your opponents first and foremost, and build her once you've established a foothold for yourself. In this segment, we'll be discussing her skins, which are all available for purchase using skin scrolls. The top priority skin is her winter skin, which offers 106,645 health, which yields a large boost to her survival, particularly early on, and paves the way for you to scale out of control with her possession skill. The second in priority is her armor skin, which offers 10,650 armor, and while it may not seem as important as giving her more health, there are a lot of heroes who may get to her or deal chip damage, which she can mitigate, making the health that she does have more valuable, and prevents units like Galahad or those without armor penetration from doing any real damage to her, particularly early on. The third in priority is her default skin, which offers 1,365 physical attack and 54,600 health, and is going to help you reach those high numbers for health scaling. Last in priority is her Predator skin, which offers up to 10,650 magic attack, but considering her highest multiplier is 20%, this is extremely low priority, one of the last skins you should ever level up on any hero. Next, we'll discuss artifact priority, which means which artifact is the most important to level up first. The first up is her ring, which grants her 3,990 physical attack and 159,600 health, which offers her the largest single source of health in the game, and obviously, after learning that her most important ability scales dramatically from her health, this is the easy pick for top priority. The second in priority is her artifact weapon, the Devil's Contract, which will grant her and her allies 32,040 magic defense for 9 seconds when she uses her ultimate ability. This helps negate Orion's artifact weapon, as well as block units like Satori, Celeste, and Faceless, who have notoriously mid-range magic penetration but high damage outputs. Last in priority is her artifact book. This grants her 10,680 magic penetration, 5,340 magic attack, and since her damage is the vast minority of why you build her, and her skills barely noticeably scale off of magic attack. This you almost don't need to level at all until the very end to save yourself resources. In our final segment, we will be discussing glyph stat priority. The first glyph is health. It gives 30,800 health, and just like the health skin and ring, it is the top in priority to ensure her multipliers are as high as they can be. The second glyph in priority is her strength, which gives 560 physical attack, 22,400 health, which helps her reach her maximum effectiveness at healing herself and reduces the likelihood she will suffer critical hits. The third glyph to choose is armor, which offers 3,360 armor and will help ward off tanks and other support units who manage to get through the front line to Lilith. The fourth glyph is magic penetration, which offers 3,360 magic penetration and helps her minuscule damage deal as much as possible and help chip down teams without healers. The last glyph to choose is her magic attack, which adds 3,360 magic attack. This skill will contribute virtually nothing to her damage output, which is already virtually non-existent. Okay everybody, hopefully you found this video informative. If you do, please like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. Another thing to consider is recommending my content to your friends as well if you know they yearn for knowledge of the game. Since these videos are private, word of mouth is how they will get spread. Also, for a large and active Hero Wars mobile community, join my Facebook group called Hero Wars Mobile Community, The GOAT. The link will be in the video's description. Thanks for watching.